Hi there, I'm Jen Ferguson with Artistic Painting Studio, and I've got a great project. We are going to do this huge ornament for a door hanger. So come join me. We're going to foil, we're going to paint, we're going to do all kinds of fun things. Okay, guys, we have a huge ornament to work on. And these are the foils that I'm planning on using, which is going to be our Wild Leopard Spots Small Gold, and then just our regular red foil. But I'm going to get some of the base coating done. Where I'm planning on putting the, well, as it all unrolls here, the Wild Leopard Spots, it actually will look good over this MDF natural. So I'm not going to base coat that area, but we are going to get a base coat on everything else. Let me just get my foils rolled back up here. So where the Merry Christmas is going, I'm going to paint it black. So I'm going to just go ahead and isolate up to that line. So I'm just taping off so I don't have to try to paint. Perfect, okay? And this is etched. So you have lines to match up to get like the shape of the bow and to do different colors in different areas. These are from Southern Adornments, and the link will be in the description below. So we're going to get that one done. Black up here, I'm going to get black, but I'm just going to have to be able to freehand it. But I was trying to help myself out and make this as easy as possible. So we're going to be using our Mondego black just because I have it handy and I have a huge container of it. You could just use a black acrylic, which would be no problem, but I don't like the red over the natural MDF, so that's why I'm going to paint that black first. If you wanted to paint it red, you can. You can just definitely change things up as you need to. If you're wanting the foil to look perfect with as few flaws as possible, red over red will always be best, but red paint doesn't cover super well. So I'm going the next best direction and doing black, because if a tiny bit of it shows, it will be fine. I don't ever feel like the black paint takes away from the foils. I think it just adds a little natural distress. Okay, and I'm using a foam brush just because we've got a large area and I'm trying to get that done relatively quickly. Okay, we're gonna let that dry for a second. I'm gonna flip over so that I can get to the other side easily because I'm gonna have to freehand this part. I should have grabbed a brush, but here's my tub of brushes, and let's just find one. You know, you always have those favorite ones. I was looking for an angled brush, but I think all of those are dirty at the moment. That one might work, okay. So again, we're just going to base coat the area that I want to foil, as the bow is going to be teal. So the reason I wanted an angled brush is because sometimes that's easier to come in and use when you've got a little point area. And just move it around to whatever angle works best for you. If it's not perfect, you guys, don't worry about it. Your bow is going to get painted over this as well, so you're going to have a few layers of paint. And again, this is just an area that I'm planning on applying foils to. And our bow is just going to be paint. So I'm just trying to get that a little neater there, okay, and that should be good. I'm going to come back and critique and just make sure that I've got good coverage here, because sometimes the foam brush just doesn't apply as much. And then just gonna pop off the tape because we don't need that on there any longer, but you can see that I did end up with some nice straight lines there, okay? And now we're gonna blow dry our black so that that can get set really quick. And I'm gonna work on my first layer of the bow. Okay, I just didn't want that black to be wet. And I'm gonna be using some acrylic colors. I got Bahama Blue and Desert Turquoise are the colors I think I'm gonna be working with on this. So I'm gonna start off with my lighter color, and that way I've got the deeper color to do my shading. And again, just find a brush that will work well. It is definitely time to clean some brushes, okay? We're gonna grab a couple of them just in case we need. And basically we're just trying to get the base coat color on here, which might take more than one coat, okay? And I'm just trying to follow the etched lines to get this started. And don't worry if you go over the etching on here. Even when you paint over it, you can still see that line, okay? So don't worry about that. And please feel free to pick whatever colors you want. I love teal, so that is why I'm choosing to paint the bow teal for this. Okay, I can tell that this jar is older and there's little tiny bits in there that I'm just trying to pick out. I think it's definitely time to buy a new jar of paint. Okay, I'm going to switch to a smaller brush just because I know that I can control this easier as I come around this curve. So please don't worry if you don't feel like you are a freehand artist. I'm going to make this super simple. We're just going to do some basic shading to give a little dimension to the bow, and it will be easy, easy steps, okay? And you can see how I constantly move the project around so it's easy for me to brush being right-handed, okay? So just make it easy for you. Okay, just critique your painting. Make sure that you have 100% coverage and that you've got good coverage on your bow because we're mainly going to come in and start doing some shading. So if you feel like you need to get a second coat on there, you can definitely do that now. Just making sure that these little crummy pieces that keep coming out of the jar are gone, okay? Okay, while we're waiting for that to dry, we can go ahead and get going on our foil adhesive so that we keep moving on this project. It really should not be something that takes too long. Now I'm going to go ahead and blow dry this because I don't want to get the paint into the foil adhesive, okay? Okay, now we're going to use our Artsyville Embellishments foil adhesive, and this is what we're going to be transferring our foils with. So I'm going to grab some out of our bigger container. Again, let's find another brush. So I always open and just grab it out of my gallon container or whatever size container you have, okay? Put it on what we call a sticky plate because it's, if you need to add water, you've got a place to add water. You're not leaving your container open and you can get this done, okay? So I'm gonna do the top part first. And again, I am going to switch down to a smaller brush just so I can control it over here. And I'm only wanting to brush this onto the black area, okay? If I get it on too far, I can always paint over it as well. But make sure you get 100% coverage. The foil adhesive goes on milky white and will dry clear and shiny. Okay, I just want to make sure I've got this edge up here close enough. I'm just trying to smooth out my brush strokes a little bit. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and put foil adhesive on the whole rest of this, but we're going to cut it in with a brush and we might roll the rest of it, okay? So again, I don't want this on the bow. I want this only below, so it's going over the natural area here. That is just this exposed MDF. I did not seal that. This MDF is a real high quality product, and I find that the foil adhesive works great directly over it as long as you've picked a foil color that will look good over that natural MDF. And it's just a tan color, which is going to look great underneath that wild leopard spot, okay? And I'm only using this little brush for this detail area, but I want to get a nice straight line cut right up to against the paint. Okay, we're going to try to get the rest of this done a little bit faster. As I had indicated, we're going to try using a roller, and that way we can get coverage on here quickly. So the roller that I like to use is a 1/4 inch nap roller, so that it's a low nap. And then you can just roll it into the adhesive on your plate. These are just little 4-inch rollers, and they work great, okay? You can get full coverage on here really fast. Okay, I'm going over some of the area up here, trying to be careful not to get it on the blue. Now the roller is going to give a little bit more texture. That's why I'm trying to get up close to where I brushed it, because it's going to change the texture a little bit. I think those are going to be pretty close. There we go. You want to make sure you have 100% coverage and that you've got a good amount on there, okay? You don't want it to be too thin, especially over the MDF part, because that is not sealed at all, okay? So make sure you've got good coverage. And then once I have the whole thing covered, then I'll come back normally with the roller going all in one direction and just try to smooth out a little bit of the nap, the texture that the roller creates, and then we're good, okay? So the foil adhesive does take a little bit of time to set up. I do recommend that you let it sit there for at least 30 minutes to an hour, but if you don't have time to get to the next step, the foil adhesive is never going to dry beyond a firm tack. So you can allow this to sit for hours. It can sit overnight. It can sit a week, okay? So we'll wait for that to dry up and we'll come back and add some more detail. Okay, we are ready for the fun part. We have our foils to transfer, and then we'll finish doing our freehand. So we're going to be using the wild leopard spots, and I'm going to work from the bottom up and position this right along that black line. Let's get that to stick a little bit better. Okay. And smooth that one down. And we're going to leave that foil in position. We're not going to remove it yet. And then I'm going to use my red over the top of the black section. And again, I'm going to try to get this lined up right on that black line. And keep that in position. And then our last section here, and we can foil over the whole last area because there's no adhesive up here on the bow, so I can just cover up that whole area, okay? And it's only going to stick where there is adhesive. The last little spot we have is the very top of the ornament, and we're just going to do that in gold. So now we can scrub and work backwards. And just double check to make sure that you got the release you wanted. Oh, that came off so beautifully. Look at the little twinkle. Okay, so now we'll start at the top and work our way down. And I'm basically just scrubbing the wild leopard spots, but you can lift up and scrub on the red as well. That way there's only a single layer here. And again, even lift that up and scrub over the wild leopard spots. Okay, I'm going to put all those back down and we're going to start from the top again. And I'm just going to check as I'm releasing. If I feel like I can get a little bit more color, I'm going to put the foil right back down, scrub a little bit more. When you have some texture from all the layers of either paint, foil adhesive, normally you'll have some high and low, so when you release it and put it back down, it has the ability to go into the lower areas. So I'm just going to start from the other side. And I think we just have one small little section to double check. And we can release that. Oh, that came out so cute. This is one of my favorite foils. Okay, now the only thing we want to watch is now that that part is transferred, if you scrub over it, you could actually scratch it. So you can take your leftover piece, okay, and just kind of cover up that foiled edge so that you're not scratching, but make sure that you can get this line so that the edge of the foil is transferred, okay? And again, I'm going to lift that up for a little bit and check the black as we remove it. Lay it back down, scrub a little bit more. Any place where it just doesn't look like it's fully transferred, just put it back. You'll get a little bit better transfer every time you lift and look. Okay, we're going to go from the other side this time. Lift that all the way. And now, oh, the red is transferred. Gorgeous. Okay, our last section, and I'm just going to put the foil back along that edge because I don't want to scratch the red. Okay, so that's just going to protect. And then we can work on the bottom section here and get the last section of the wild leopard spots. Just making sure that I have my red covered. Let's pull back this way. Woohoo! Okay. We are done with our foil transfer. We can save all of our leftover foil for another project. Never throw that extra stuff away. Okay, so I'm not sure if you could see on the camera, but you can still see where it says Merry Christmas because it's etched into the actual wood. So we'll be able to easily come back and paint over the top of that. So right now, I want to work on the bow, and we're going to try to finish this off with doing some shading and shadowing. Okay, so I'm now going to use some desert turquoise. I'm going to put my original color of Bahama blue out there in case I need to lighten something. And then I've got a couple more colors, Laguna blue. That one's almost empty, so let's see if anything comes out. Okay, we might be done with that one. Okay, then we're going to use teal green, okay, just so we have some contrast and we have some colors to work with. And if you don't want to go, you know, completely to your deeper shade, you can just mix your deeper shade with the first base coat color and then come in and start just doing a little bit of shading around the edges, creating a little bit of detail, a little bit of dimension, okay? And I'm just using my finger to kind of blend that edge. You can also keep things a little moist, okay, with putting a tiny bit of water by using that mist bottle, and that'll just help things to also blend a little bit easier. And this is just some simple basic shading, okay? Nothing too challenging here, just simple. I need to get a wrap paper towel because my fingers are getting dirty here, okay? So basically just adding some darker detail to the edge of the bow so that you can bring out the detail of it. Make it look more two-dimensional than just one-dimensional. Just a little bit of water will be your friend, okay? So it'll just help blend that edge away for you. And don't forget, your finger works really good as well, okay? And just keep moving things around so they're easier for you to work on, being right-handed or left-handed, okay? And if you don't have two colors that are only like a shade or so away from each other, then just use my trick too of blending your first color and your second color together so that you've got a really soft transition and it's not too strong, okay? I think it's just a little bit easier to get your blending and shading going if it's not too dimensional, okay? So just keep shading and playing around until you're absolutely happy with your results. And you can come back with lighter colors, darker colors, whatever works, okay? And I'm just throwing in a little extra color just to get a little bit more interest into the background. That way it just doesn't look like a solid color. Gives yourself a little bit more distress to your bow, and I think it just makes it look a little bit more fun. Don't forget about that water. If you get something on there too dark, just add a little bit of water because it really will just help that to flow. Okay, I think I'm gonna quit playing around. So we're gonna be done with all of this part. The last thing we're gonna do is paint in our Merry Christmas. And for stuff like that, I feel it's just a little easier to use like a paint pen versus trying to do it freehand, but whichever works best for you. I've got a couple of different, these are by uh, Posca, and I just got a whole set of them where it was black and white and 3 different sizes each, and that way you can figure out which size is going to work best. And then we're just going to paint in the word Merry Christmas. So I'm going to decide which one of these is going to work better by just making a line here. I think the larger one's going to work. So let's try that. And this truly is just going to be painting in the lines because that's all you're doing here. Just painting in where it says Merry Christmas. Okay, I got a little outside the edge. I just used my regular paintbrush to pick that up. Okay, we are done. I think you will find that working with these paint pens is really quick and easy. And if you're not a freehand artist, all you're doing is just filling in the lines, okay? So just painting with inside the lines. So that's it, you guys. We're gonna let this completely dry and then we're gonna clear coat it and our project is done. I hope you've enjoyed this. This has been a lot of fun and hopefully you've learned something new. Thank you so much for joining me for this Christmas door hanger project. You will find a complete list of all the materials and supplies in the description below. And don't forget, make sure to always hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of our upcoming tutorials.